Hey folks, John here. Just got done listening to a Joe Rogan podcast with Will Harris, who is a regenerative rancher and farmer in Ohio, I believe. No, Georgia, excuse me. And huge operation. Making a lot of money, doing a lot of good things for the soil. Really, really great talk. I was excited to see a regenerative farmer there on the Joe Rogan show. I think it's something that we need to talk about a lot more. One of the questions that has been asked on his show a couple times by different people, and I guess a lot of people are asking the question is, can regenerative farming, regenerative agriculture save the planet? And that's a really complex question, and I think the answer is yes. But it can't work in isolation. You can't really have individual farms that are doing it and expect to really change the planet like we would like to see, because it's a kind of a bottom up approach that we have to have a completely different mentality on how we live. We need to waste a lot less. We need to be able to learn how to utilize the things that we have already before we can hope to really change things. And so it's going to have to be something that happens also inside the cities, just a different kind of a mindset that people have. And I don't know if that's really possible to change inside the cities where people are captive. But I know that for a lot of people, they're looking for ways to change, looking for a different kind of lifestyle. And I think if you were to change the way we develop as a society from these single family home subdivisions to something that's more integrated, I like to call it an integrative farm, where people participate in the production and then they reap the benefits. So rather than a community or a subdivision having a park and a playground, it has a farm and that is also a park and a playground as well, and you can kind of integrate your community that way. But really, basically, the thing that really is never discussed when it comes to can regenerative agriculture save the planet is that it's lacking the right questions, which is, are there enough people willing to do it for it to save the planet? Is it scalable? One of the things that they talked about was that it's replicable, but it's not scalable. And really, the reason that it's not scalable is because you need people that are willing to do it. And not a whole lot of people are really willing to do it. However, if you were to incentivize them to do it by, like, perhaps providing them a place where they can build a home, a sustainable home, then I think you could start having a much more serious discussion about these things. So that's one of the things that we would like to do in our experiment, is start building these sustainable homes out there where people can come and give birth, where people that are learning how to be graziers or learning how to be regenerative farmers can come out and study for a while and live for a little bit, working towards building these more integrated communities where you produce as much as you possibly can within your community, and you slaughter within your community, and it's really localizing production, so that it's much more close by, uses a lot less greenhouse gases, of course, and also captures carbon in the soil. And all of these things can be done, I believe, but we kind of have to completely change the way that we develop our communities and move away from this very wasteful single family home type of building style. So I believe that we need a new American dream. I think that the home ownership American dream has run its course. The traditional home ownership. I've owned a home. I found it to be, great, and then it just was. It's really not all it's cracked up to be. Especially when you get stuck inside that home that you don't really own for another 30 years. You can make improvements on it and whatnot, of course, but it doesn't really provide you the kind of satisfaction that I think we could get it as individuals if we were to own land and build our own home and then work that land and produce for ourselves. So, my vision of a new American dream is building your own home, and then owning the land that you build it on and owning the land that you produce on. I believe in home ownership. I don't think that you can really genuinely put your heart and soul into improving anything that you don't own, and anything that you can't pass on to your children. And so I believe very strongly in home ownership, and I believe that it's one of those things that, you know, we should be willing to fight for and die for. Um, and these people that are trying to, you know, manipulate our future with their own plan for the future don't want us to own anything. And I think that that is a mistake. I wouldn't have any problem sharing a car or whatnot. That's not something I really care too much about, but when it comes to land and home ownership, I believe firmly that those are things that we need to keep right here. You know, we're very blessed in the United States to have property rights and our individual freedoms, and I think that, you know, we are slowly seeing those being you know, deteriorating and being kind of swept away, and we're forgetting about it because of all the chaos and all the distraction going on in our society. So we need to fight for these things that matter to us, and we need to fight for these things, these gifts that we have been given. Fight for our inheritance, you know. And I think that when you look around, especially out there by the farm, you see this land that is just absolutely barren. It's a desert, you know, and those farmers are leaving as an inheritance land that is unworkable. Um, and they believe that, you know, because of the erosion of our topsoils, we might only have 60 harvests left. And what happens then? You know, that's when we go into a world of soil and green. You know, our artists, they have foreseen these things happening, and if we don't work to change them, that's exactly what's going to happen. You know, there's this debate between what, you know, does art create life, or reality create art, you know, what have you. And the truth is they're synonymous. You know, they happen simultaneously. It's just that they happen on a different timeline because the brain, you know, we think at light speed, or greater. And, you know, art takes time to manifest in reality. So if we don't work to change these potential futures, then they will manifest because we don't come up with any better ideas. So it's our ideas that create the future. It's our imagination that creates the future. And if we don't do anything to counter these ideas that have already been put in place by others, then they will manifest. And then we will look at it and say, oh, that was on The Simpsons 10 years ago. Well, duh. You know, we've already been shown that art can create reality. It's our thoughts that create reality. And when you have millions of people watching a single Simpsons episode, you know, maybe that gives God an idea to navigate his creation into that corner, because, you know, we haven't come up with any better ideas. So it's time to come up with better ideas, start time to do things differently, and time to get to work. So it's coming. You guys take care.